A mother's dream. The scent of lavender and old lace always brought Martha back to Lily's childhood. She'd press the delicate sachet to her nose, a faint smile gracing her lips, and remember the day she first tucked a crisp $20 bill into the dusty rose velvet box. Lily, all gangly limbs and missing front teeth, had been spinning in her grandmother's wedding dress, trailing tulle through the living room like a tiny, delighted storm. "My wedding day, Mama," she'd shrieked, her voice a bell. And Martha, her heart swelling with an almost painful love, had known then what her life's savings would truly be for. Years blurred into a tapestry woven with sacrifice and unwavering hope. Every spare coin, every extra shift at the diner, found its way into that velvet box. Martha's hands, though calloused from scrubbing pots and polishing silverware, were deft with knitting needles. She'd spend evenings beneath the warm glow of a single lamp, yarn flowing through her fingers, transforming skeins into intricate cable-knit sweaters. The local craft fair became her second home, her stall a riot of colorful woolens and the sweet, comforting aroma of her homemade pecan cookies. Each sale was a little victory, another step closer to the dream. For Lily, she'd murmur, tying off a loose thread, or carefully placing a cookie into a wax paper bag. For her perfect day. Lily, now a radiant young woman, would often perch on the arm of Martha's worn armchair, her phone screen a dazzling portal to a world Martha barely understood. "Look, Mama. This is the Château du Soleil. Can you imagine the photos?" She'd swipe to an image of a sprawling French estate, sun-drenched and impossibly grand. Martha would gaze at the picture, her breath catching. The sheer opulence was breathtaking, a world away from their cozy, if cramped, cottage. "It's magnificent, sweetheart," Martha would breathe, her voice thick with emotion. Lily's eyes, bright and eager, would sparkle. "And this dress? It's silk organza, Mama, with hand-sewn pearls. Don't you think it's just divine?" The dress was a cloud of ivory, its train pooling around a slender mannequin. Martha imagined Lily in it, floating down an aisle, a vision of pure joy. Her own wedding, a hurried affair at the courthouse with barely a bouquet, felt a lifetime ago, a stark contrast to the fairy tale unfolding on Lily's screen. Martha felt no resentment, only a profound sense of purpose. Lily deserved more. She deserved everything. "We can make it happen, my love," Martha would promise, her voice firm with conviction, even as a tiny tremor of anxiety snaked through her. The numbers were staggering, a sum that had once seemed utterly unattainable. But with each sweater sold, each batch of cookies baked, the velvet box grew heavier, more promising. One blustery afternoon, Lily arrived home, her cheeks flushed, a glossy bridal magazine tucked under her arm. "Mama, I saw the most incredible floral arrangements at Weddings by Design. Cascading orchids, hydrangeas in every shade of blue, and eucalyptus branches. They're like living sculptures." Her hands gestured wildly, painting a vivid picture in the air. Martha listened, her heart swelling with a bittersweet joy. She saw the light in Lily's eyes, the unadulterated happiness that bubbled up with every mention of linen choices and champagne towers. It was infectious. Martha felt herself swept up in the intoxicating whirlwind of planning, her own fatigue fading into the background. She started taking on extra catering jobs, her famous deviled eggs and miniature quiches becoming staples at local gatherings. The tips, though modest, quickly added up. She'd meticulously track every penny, her ledger a testament to her unwavering dedication. Sometimes, late at night, a faint doubt would whisper in the quiet corners of her mind. Was this too much? Was she promising Lily a world she couldn't truly deliver? But then she'd recall Lily's excited chatter, her beaming smile, and the doubts would dissipate like morning mist. This wasn't just about a wedding, it was about a mother's promise, a dream carefully nurtured, piece by painstaking piece. It was about seeing her daughter happy, truly, undeniably happy. And for that, Martha knew, there was no price too high. The grand plan unfolds. The scent of lavender and rosewater clung to Martha's hands, a sweet reminder of the afternoon's floral consultation. Months had blurred into a whirlwind of appointments, each one a meticulous step towards the grand celebration. Her kitchen table, usually a haven of quiet contemplation, was now an organized chaos of contracts, invoices, and payment schedules. She meticulously reviewed the catering agreement again, her finger tracing the elegant script detailing the 7-course menu. The numbers were staggering, a sum that represented her entire life's savings, but the thought of Lily's beaming face at the end of it all made every penny feel worthwhile. "Mom, do you really think the gold charger plates are too much?" Lily's voice floated in from the living room, a note of theatrical concern in her tone. She was sprawled on the sofa, a bridal magazine splayed across her chest, a half-eaten macaron forgotten on the cushion beside her. Martha smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "No, darling, not at all. They're stunning. Just make sure they don't clash with the blush tablecloths. Remember the sample swatch?" Lily sighed dramatically. "Of course, Mom. You worry too much." She offered a fleeting, almost practiced, smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Martha, however, saw only genuine excitement, a daughter eagerly anticipating her special day. The following Tuesday found them at Sweet Serenity, the most exclusive bakery in town. A parade of miniature cakes, each a work of art, awaited them. Red velvet with cream cheese frosting, lemon chiffon with raspberry compote, dark chocolate ganache, the choices were overwhelming, yet delightful. Martha watched Lily take a delicate bite of a vanilla bean cupcake, her eyes widening with pleasure. "Oh, Mom, this one. It's perfect," she exclaimed, her voice light and musical. Martha's heart swelled. These moments, filled with Lily's unbridled joy, were exactly what she envisioned when she first dreamt of this day. She paid the substantial deposit with a serene smile, the weight of the expense momentarily forgotten in the glow of Lily's happiness. Afternoons often dissolved into a kaleidoscope of colors and textures. They spent hours at the florist, surrounded by buckets of fragrant blooms. Lily, usually decisive, found herself vacillating between cascading orchids and vibrant peonies for her bouquet. Martha, ever patient, offered gentle suggestions, her own preferences always secondary to Lily's vision. "It's your day, sweet pea," she'd say, her hand resting warmly on Lily's arm. "Whatever makes your heart sing." One particularly sunny afternoon, as they finalized the selection of antique lace for the aisle runners, Lily leaned into Martha, her head resting on her shoulder. "Thank you, Mom," she murmured, her voice soft. "For everything. You're making all my dreams come true." Martha hugged her daughter tightly, a wave of profound contentment washing over her. This was the love, the connection, she had always cherished. She pictured Lily walking down the aisle, radiant and breathtaking, and a profound sense of satisfaction settled deep within her. The elaborate floral arches, the string quartet, the bespoke gown, it was all coming together, a magnificent testament to a mother's unwavering love and a daughter's approaching bliss. Martha had even started a separate, smaller fund for a down payment on a new car for herself, a reward for finally seeing Lily settled, but for now, every spare cent, every ounce of energy, was devoted to the grand plan. The wedding was no longer just an event, it was a beautiful, tangible representation of her daughter's happiness, and Martha believed in it with every fiber of her being. She transferred another significant sum, the final payment for the venue, her hand steady on the keyboard. There was no turning back now. A hidden truth. The late afternoon sun, a buttery wash of gold, streamed through Lily's living room window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Martha hummed a cheerful, slightly off-key tune as she folded a silk blouse, its fabric cool and smooth against her fingertips. From the kitchen, Lily's animated chatter suggested an undoubtedly lively discussion with Tom about their cruise honeymoon. Martha smiled, a profound warmth blossoming in her chest. Her Lily, finally settled, finally content. All the sacrifices, the endless shifts, now felt entirely vindicated. Moving into the bedroom, Martha navigated a whirlwind of tissue paper and designer labels. Lily's packing, predictably, was a chaotic masterpiece of last-minute deliberation. "Honestly, Lily," Martha murmured to the empty room, retrieving a discarded sequin top. "One might think you were equipping an expedition, not embarking on a cruise." She chuckled softly, tucking the garment into the overflowing suitcase. Lily had insisted on Martha's assistance, citing pre-wedding jitters, despite the ceremony being mere hours away. It was a flimsy excuse, yet Martha, ever obliging, had driven across town without a second thought. She cherished being here, enveloped by the palpable excitement radiating from her daughter. As Martha wrestled with a particularly unyielding zipper, her gaze caught on a small, unassuming closet in a shadowy corner of the bedroom. It was one of those quirky architectural features common to older apartments, typically relegated to forgotten relics or cleaning supplies. Lily rarely utilized it, preferring the more expansive built-in wardrobe. A gentle nudge of curiosity, rather than a forceful pull, prompted Martha to open its narrow door. Inside, nestled amongst a stack of old magazines and a forgotten yoga mat, lay a small wooden box. Unvarnished and plain, with a simple metal clasp, it was coated in a fine layer of dust, as if untouched for years. Strange, Martha mused, for Lily, who usually kept her belongings meticulously organized, particularly anything of sentimental value. Perhaps just old junk, something she'd meant to discard. But its discreet placement, almost concealed, undeniably piqued Martha's interest. With a soft sigh, Martha reached for the box. Her fingers brushed against its rough surface, and a faint tremor of unease stirred within her. Why such a secluded spot? She lifted it out, the wood felt surprisingly light. The clasp, a little stiff, yielded with a soft click. Inside, not old jewelry or forgotten letters, but a single, crisp document. Martha's heart gave a sudden lurch. It was a legal-looking paper, folded neatly. Her breath hitched. The words at the top, bold and official, seemed to leap out, "Marriage certificate." A cold dread began to seep into her veins. Her hands, suddenly clumsy, unfolded the paper. She scanned the names, her vision blurring. Lily Amelia Hayes. Thomas Maxwell Thorne. And then, the date. 6 months ago. The room spun. The golden sunlight, moments ago so warm, now felt harsh and blinding. The cheerful hum that had filled her ears was replaced by a deafening roar, a blood-pounding throb in her temples. 6 months. They had been married for 6 months. 6 months of meticulous planning, 6 months of savings, 6 months of Martha's life poured into a lavish dream that had already come true, in secret, without her knowledge. The paper trembled in her grasp, a flimsy testament to a colossal betrayal. Every detail of the approaching wedding, every expensive flower arrangement, every custom-made invitation, every tearful dress fitting, flashed through her mind, each one a fresh, searing stab. Her Lily. Her sweet, honest Lily. The sound of Lily's laughter from the kitchen, bright and carefree, sliced through the sudden silence of the bedroom. Martha stared at the certificate, the ink sharp and unyielding. The gentle, trusting heart that had loved her daughter so fiercely now felt like a block of ice, fracturing with each beat. A hidden truth, indeed. And it was far, far worse than she could have ever imagined. The betrayal. The forgotten shoebox, once a repository of cherished memories, now felt like a Pandora's box, threatening to unleash a maelstrom of painful truths. Martha's fingers trembled as she delved deeper, rummaging past dried rose petals from Lily's prom corsage, a faded lock of baby hair, and a smattering of postcards from family vacations. Each item, a sweet echo of a simpler time, mocked the growing dread coiling in her gut. She was searching, not for a lost trinket, but for an explanation, a tangible reason to dismiss the insidious whisper that had taken root in her mind. Surely, there was a receipt, a confirmation, anything to show that the grand plans for Lily's dream wedding were indeed moving forward. Her breath hitched when her fingers brushed against a stack of official-looking envelopes tucked beneath a bundle of old greeting cards. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the rising anxiety within her. With a shaky hand, she pulled them out. They were bank statements, crisp and uncreased, addressed to Lily. A cold wave washed over Martha as she recognized the logo of the local credit union where they had opened the joint wedding savings account, the one where Martha had diligently deposited every spare penny for the past 5 years. She tore open the first envelope. The statement inside, dated 3 months prior, showed a series of significant withdrawals. Not payments to florists or caterers, but large sums transferred to an unfamiliar account number. Her eyes darted to the next statement, then the next. Each one chronicled a steady depletion of the wedding fund, the money systematically siphoned away, not for celebratory expenses, but into an entirely different financial abyss. The balance, once a healthy sum that promised a fairy tale day, now hovered precariously close to zero. A suffocating silence descended upon the small living room, broken only by the frantic thumping of her own heart. The world outside, usually a symphony of chirping birds and distant traffic, seemed muted, irrelevant. Martha sank onto the worn armchair, the bank statements fanned out across her lap like a cruel hand of cards. Her vision blurred, not with tears, but with a profound sense of disbelief. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate act, meticulously executed. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow. Lily hadn't been planning a wedding. Not their wedding. The elaborate menu tastings, the endless dress fittings, the heated discussions about floral arrangements, they had all been a charade. A meticulously crafted illusion to keep Martha's suspicion at bay while the money vanished, piece by agonizing piece. A deep ache settled in her chest, a hollow, echoing pain that transcended mere disappointment. This wasn't just about the money, though that was a significant loss. It was about the trust, the unwavering belief she had in her daughter. She had sacrificed so much, poured her very soul into creating a perfect day for Lily, believing wholeheartedly in her daughter's happiness. And all the while, Lily had been weaving a tangled web of deceit, taking not just her mother's savings, but her mother's heart. Martha stared at the almost empty bank account balance, her reflection staring back at her from the glossy paper, eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and sorrow. How could her own daughter do this? How could the child she had nurtured, loved, and protected with every fiber of her being, betray her so completely? The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unanswerable, a cruel monument to a love that had been, unbeknownst to her, a one-sided affair. Seeking answers. The crisp morning air, usually a balm to Martha's spirit, today delivered a chilling whisper, a cruel reminder of a world that continued its indifferent spin while hers lay in fragments. At the kitchen table, her untouched tea cooled, steam no longer rising. The intricate lace doily beneath it, a delicate gift from Lily, now seemed to mock her with its flawless perfection. Her hands trembled, a fragile shield against the image of the marriage certificate that kept surfacing. A dull, persistent ache throbbed behind her eyes, a prelude to the grief threatening to spill. How could Lily, her sweet, ebullient Lily, do this? The question ricocheted through the hollow chambers of her heart, each beat a fresh sting. She drew a deep, ragged breath, attempting to corral the swirling chaos within her mind. This was no time to succumb. She needed clarity, an understanding that might soften the brutal edges of this betrayal. Who else knew? Who else was complicit in this deception? The thought churned her stomach. Perhaps it was only Lily and Tom, a secret held tight between them. Yet how could Tom, a boy she'd watched blossom into a kind young man, partake in such a cruel charade? Her gaze landed on the framed photograph on the refrigerator, Lily and Tom, radiantly happy, their arms entwined at last year's Christmas party. It had been taken moments after Tom's proposal, the air electric with joy and anticipation. Martha remembered the tears that had welled in her own eyes then, tears of pure happiness for her daughter. Now, those memories felt sullied, the picture a stark relic of a future that had never truly materialized. A name surfaced in her mind, a guiding light in the stormy sea of her thoughts: Eleanor. Tom's mother. Eleanor was more than just a future-in-law, she was a cherished friend, a confidant with whom Martha had shared countless cups of coffee and whispered secrets. Surely, if anyone possessed knowledge, it would be Eleanor. But how to inquire without exposing the devastating truth she'd uncovered? Martha couldn't bring herself to expose Lily, not yet, not with the wounds so fresh, so raw. With a resolve born of pure desperation, Martha picked up her phone. Her fingers hovered over Eleanor's contact, a knot tightening in her stomach. She needed to sound utterly normal, even cheerful. Just calling to chat about the big day, she'd rehearse, a flimsy pretense to mask the volcano rumbling inside. The phone rang twice before Eleanor's warm voice filled the kitchen. "Martha, darling. Good morning. Everything all right? You sound a little breathless." Martha forced a laugh, a brittle, unconvincing sound even to her own ears. "Oh, just chasing Sylvester around the house, you know how he gets." "No, everything's wonderful. Just wanted to touch base about a few wedding details. The caterer called, wanting final numbers, and I thought we should compare notes." "Of course, dear. Always happy to help. What's on your mind?" Eleanor's voice was as steady and comforting as ever, a stark contrast to Martha's internal turmoil. Martha plunged in, carefully, delicately. "Well, you know how these young people are, always full of surprises. I just wondered if Lily or Tom had mentioned anything to you about, any alternative plans? Sometimes kids get these wild ideas, like running off to a courthouse or something. Just to save us all the fuss, you know?" She tried to inject a light-hearted chuckle into her voice, but it came out strained. A beat of silence stretched on the other end, an eternity. Then, Eleanor's voice, devoid of its usual warmth, edged with genuine surprise. "Martha, whatever are you talking about? Elopement? Lily and Tom?" "No, absolutely not. They've been so excited about the big day, the church, the reception, everything we've all planned. Tom's been talking about his best man speech for weeks. Why would you even suggest such a thing?" The genuine bewilderment in Eleanor's voice was unmistakable. It wasn't a feigned surprise, not a carefully constructed lie. It was real, mirroring Martha's own shock. The realization hit Martha with a fresh wave of despair. Eleanor knew nothing. Tom hadn't told his own mother. This wasn't some shared secret between the young couple and their inner circle. This was a deeper, more profound deception, carefully hidden from everyone. The implications settled heavy in Martha's chest, making it difficult to breathe. This wasn't just a miscommunication, this was a deliberate, calculated act. "Oh, just silly me," Martha managed, her voice barely a whisper. "Just a fleeting thought. You know how my mind wanders sometimes." No, ignore me. Let's talk about those caterer numbers." She steered the conversation back to the mundane, the weight of her discovery pressing down on her, heavier than before. The search for answers had only yielded more questions, and a chilling confirmation: she was utterly alone in this. The day of reckoning. Martha confronted her reflection, a ghostly figure in white satin. The gown, once a symbol of joyous anticipation, now felt like a suffocating shroud. On the vanity, a delicate lace veil lay, a cruel jest of purity and new beginnings. Her fingers traced the intricate bodice embroidery, a testament to a day meant for celebration, not a reckoning. A tremor ran through her, a cocktail of dread and an unyielding resolve she hadn't known she possessed. Today, the charade would shatter. She drew a deep, shuddering breath. The faint perfume of Lily's favored bloom, drifted from the floral arrangements already adorning the house. Each carefully chosen detail, every petal and ribbon, spoke of her love, her sacrifice, and every single one was a lie. The thought twisted her gut, a sharp, breath-stealing pang. With a final, fortifying glance at her reflection, she clutched the small, intricately beaded bag. Inside, beneath a crumpled tissue, lay the damning bank statements, the incriminating receipts, irrefutable proof. Her heart hammered a frantic drumbeat against her ribs. The drive to the reception hall was a sun-drenched blur, the car's quiet hum a counterpoint to her pounding pulse. Each turn propelled her closer to the grand edifice, the manicured grounds, the festive banners proclaiming a celebration. As the driver pulled up to the ornate entrance, Martha felt a sudden rush of vertigo. The air hung heavy with expensive perfume and fervent expectation. She stepped out, her heels sinking slightly into the plush crimson carpet leading to the doors. Inside, the grand ballroom was a glittering tableau of opulence. Chandeliers cascaded light, bathing hundreds of mingling guests in a warm, golden glow, their laughter and chatter a vibrant symphony. Ivory-draped tables bore towering floral centerpieces, a riot of color. A string quartet played a light, melodic air from a raised platform. Martha scanned the throng, recognizing a mosaic of familiar faces, aunts, uncles, cousins, old friends. They beamed, oblivious, their eyes alight with anticipation for the happy couple. A profound sadness washed over her. These were good people, gathered for a moment of supposed joy, soon to be blindsided by a devastating betrayal. She spotted Tom's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, radiating pride, animatedly conversing with guests. They believed their son was marrying the woman he loved, a woman Martha had vouched for, had helped nurture. Guilt gnawed at her, but it quickly yielded to an unwavering determination. She had to do this, not only for herself but for everyone who had been deceived. Near the head table, Lily stood, luminous in her elegant gown, her hand clasped in Tom's. She was laughing, her head thrown back, an image of carefree happiness. Tom, ever the picture of gentlemanly poise, listened intently, a subtle, almost imperceptible tension in his shoulders that only Martha would discern. He seemed ill at ease, his gaze flitting nervously around the room, avoiding prolonged eye contact. He knew. Martha knew he knew. And that shared, unspoken secret wove another thread into the intricate tapestry she was about to unravel. Martha's gaze locked with her daughter's. Lily's smile wavered slightly, a flicker of apprehension crossing her face. For a fleeting moment, a silent dialogue passed between them, a lifetime of love, a season of deceit, and the impending confrontation. A deep breath, the lingering scent of lilies, the faint clinking of glasses. Martha adjusted the clutch in her hand, its weight a tangible reminder of her mission. The time for pretense had evaporated. The moment for truth had arrived. She advanced, each step deliberate, toward the heart of the room, toward her daughter, toward the shattering of a lie. The unveiling. The reception hall buzzed with an unnatural anticipation. Lily, radiant in a gown Martha had painstakingly chosen, stood beside Tom, both bathed in the soft glow of hundreds of fairy lights. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and the quiet murmur of excited chatter. Martha, however, felt none of the festive warmth. Her hands, clasped tightly around the crisp, official document, were cold. Each beat of her heart echoed the growing tremor in her chest. This was it. The moment she had rehearsed 1,000 times in her head, each iteration ending in a different, equally devastating, scenario. She watched as a waiter glided past with a tray of champagne flutes, their delicate clinking a sharp counterpoint to the thunderous silence in her own mind. Lily was laughing, a bright, carefree sound that, in this moment, grated on Martha's nerves. Tom offered a nervous smile to a distant relative, his eyes darting towards Lily with an almost desperate tenderness. They were a beautiful couple, a picture of marital bliss, built on a foundation of, what? Lies? Deception? Martha's throat tightened. She had to do this, not just for herself, but for the truth. Taking a deep, shuddering breath, Martha pushed herself up from her seat at the head table. The sudden movement drew a few curious glances. Her legs felt like lead, but she forced herself to stand tall, clutching the marriage certificate as if it were a shield. The soft strains of the string quartet died down, leaving an awkward void in the room. All eyes were on her now, 100 faces shifting from polite curiosity to veiled confusion. Lily's smile faltered, her gaze locking with her mother's, a flicker of something unreadable, fear? Recognition? Crossing her face. Tom stiffened, his hand instinctively reaching for Lily's, a protective gesture that only fueled Martha's resolve. "Excuse me," Martha's voice, though a little shaky at first, grew stronger with each word, cutting through the hushed silence. "Before we proceed with the ceremony, there's something important I need to share." Her gaze swept across the bewildered faces, finally settling on Lily and Tom. Lily's perfectly made-up face paled, her eyes widening in alarm. Tom's jaw tightened, a flush creeping up his neck. This isn't a wedding," Martha announced, holding the certificate aloft for all to see. The official-looking document, with its embossed seal and neat calligraphy, seemed to glow under the chandeliers. "Not today, at least. You see, Lily and Tom are already married." A collective gasp, like a sudden gust of wind, rippled through the crowded hall. It started at the front tables and spread outwards, a wave of shock and disbelief washing over the guests. The murmur of conversation ceased entirely, replaced by stunned silence and then, a frantic, hushed whispering. Heads swiveled, eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and accusation, flicking between Martha and the stunned couple. Lily's carefully composed expression crumbled. Her mouth opened and closed soundlessly, her eyes darting around the room, as if seeking an escape route. Tom, usually so reserved, looked utterly devastated, his shoulders slumping. He pulled his hand away from Lily's, as if suddenly burned. The festive atmosphere evaporated, replaced by a suffocating tension. The carefully arranged floral centerpieces, the gleaming silverware, the exquisite cake, all seemed to mock the shattered illusion. Aunt Carol, usually so effusive, dropped her champagne flute, the delicate crystal shattering on the marble floor with a sharp, echoing crack. No one even flinched. All attention remained fixed on the unfolding drama. Martha felt a strange mixture of sorrow and vindication. This wasn't how she had envisioned her daughter's wedding day, but it was the truth, finally laid bare. The weight she had carried for months, the gnawing secret, began to lift, leaving in its wake a raw, aching emptiness. But it was an honest emptiness, a foundation upon which something new, something real, could finally be built. Lily stared at her mother, her beautiful, perfectly made-up face contorted into an expression Martha had never seen before, a blend of betrayal and fear, but perhaps, just perhaps, a hint of understanding. The unveiling was complete. A confession and new beginnings. The collective gasp that filled the opulent ballroom seemed to solidify, pressing down on Lily. Her carefully constructed facade, so meticulously maintained for months, shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces at Martha's calm, devastating pronouncement. A cold dread seeped into her veins, instantly replacing the buzzing anxiety she'd lived with. Her eyes darted around the room, catching flashes of anger, confusion, and pity on the faces of her guests. She saw Tom, pale and rigid, shrinking into the background, his gaze fixed on the polished floor. An instinct, primal and overwhelming, seized her. Run. Her feet, encased in delicate silk heels, were already turning, a desperate scramble for the nearest exit, for any escape from the searing spotlight of truth. But a gentle, firm hand closed around her wrist. "Martha." Her touch wasn't accusatory or harsh, just steady. Lily stopped, trembling, a deer caught in headlights. "Lily," Martha's voice was barely a whisper, yet it cut through the murmurs in the room. "Please. Just tell me why." Her eyes, usually so warm and full of boundless love, were now clouded with a profound hurt that twisted Lily's gut. The fight drained out of Lily, leaving her hollow. The carefully rehearsed excuses, the flippant justifications she'd whispered to Tom in the dead of night, all vanished. There was only the raw, ugly truth. Her shoulders slumped. A sob tore from her throat, hot and ragged. I was scared, Mama, she choked out, the words tasting like ash. Tears streamed down her face, blurring the glittering ballroom into an abstract smear of color. Scared of disappointing you. Scared of not having anything. She pulled her hand free from Martha's gentle grasp, burying her face in her palms. We needed a house, Mama. A real one. Tom's job, it wasn't enough for a down payment. And I saw the money, all of it, for a wedding we didn't need. We were already married. It felt like a solution. Her voice was a ragged whisper, barely audible above the rising tide of murmurs from the guests. I just wanted a life. A stable life. And I knew you'd never approve of us eloping, not after all your dreams for a big wedding. I couldn't tell you. The admission hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. A few guests, their initial shock giving way to outrage, began to raise their voices. My gift. I want my gift back. A woman in a shimmering emerald gown declared, her voice sharp. Others echoed the sentiment, a chorus of angry demands for their costly presents. Tom, who had finally shuffled closer, flinched visibly. He took a hesitant step towards Lily, then hesitated, his gaze still avoiding Martha's. Just as the chaos threatened to engulf them, a figure emerged from the side of the room. It was Mr. Henderson, the florist, his usually jovial face etched with concern. He approached Martha, carefully navigating the disgruntled guests. Mrs. Davies, he began, his voice soft but clear. I heard. I'm so sorry. Please, let me refund your payment for the flowers. It's the least I can do. He pressed a crisp envelope into her hand. Before Martha could respond, Mrs. Bianchi, the caterer, also stepped forward, her round face sympathetic. And the catering, dear. We'll send the full refund by morning. This isn't right. You shouldn't bear this cost. One by one, other vendors, from the string quartet leader to the bakery owner, approached Martha. Each offered their condolences, their apologies, and their full refunds. They had been touched by Martha's genuine warmth and excitement during the planning, and now, seeing her pain, they felt a collective pang of conscience. The stack of envelopes in Martha's hand grew, each representing not just money, but an unexpected gesture of kindness. Martha looked down at the growing pile, then back at the faces of the vendors, her initial shock slowly giving way to something new, something that flickered in her eyes like a nascent flame. An idea, fragile but persistent, began to take root in the fertile ground of her disappointment. A different kind of beginning. Martha's flourishing future. The crisp envelopes, each containing a cashier's check, lay fanned out on Martha's kitchen table like a hand of winning cards. The sum total, a breathtaking amount that had once represented Lily's extravagant dream, now represented Martha's nascent hope. A faint smile touched her lips as she traced the edge of the top check with her finger. It wasn't just money, it was freedom, a second chance. The idea had been a whisper at first, a fleeting thought born of the chaos, but now it sang in her heart, clear and insistent. She would plan weddings. Not the kind Lily had envisioned, but authentic, heartfelt celebrations. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Martha, usually so cautious, approached this new venture with a zeal she hadn't known she possessed. She converted Lily's old bedroom, now mercifully vacant of any lingering sentimentality, into a home office. She invested in a sleek new laptop, a comfortable office chair, and a surprisingly elegant business card printer. The smell of fresh ink mingled with the faint scent of lavender from her garden as she designed her logo, a simple, graceful intertwined vine. Martha's flourishing futures, she'd decided, a name that spoke to growth, to new beginnings. Her first client, a young couple named Sarah and Tom, found her through a community Facebook group. Their budget was modest, their vision clear, an intimate garden wedding with a rustic charm. Martha listened intently, sketching ideas, her mind already buzzing with possibilities. She wasn't just planning an event, she was crafting a memory, a testament to their love. She pored over fabric swatches, researched local flower growers, and negotiated with caterers, her innate good taste and practical nature serving her well. The process, she discovered, was exhilarating. Each small success, each delighted gasp from Sarah, fueled her even further. The day of Sarah and Tom's wedding dawned bright and clear. Martha, impeccably dressed but with a clipboard clutched firmly in hand, moved through the sun-dappled garden like a maestro. She adjusted a stray ribbon on an aisle chair, directed the string quartet, and smoothed the tablecloths with an almost reverent touch. When Sarah, radiant in her simple lace gown, walked down the aisle to Tom's tear-filled eyes, Martha felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the summer sun. Later, as the fairy lights twinkled and laughter echoed through the evening air, Sarah found her. "Martha," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "it's more perfect than I ever imagined. You made our dream come true." Word of mouth spread quickly. Martha's genuine kindness, her meticulous attention to detail, and her uncanny ability to transform even the most modest budget into something truly magical became her calling card. Her calendar began to fill. She planned a whimsical, book-themed wedding for a pair of librarians, complete with literary quotes as table settings. She orchestrated a vibrant, multicultural celebration for a couple from different backgrounds, weaving their traditions together seamlessly. Each wedding was unique, each a testament to her growing skill and unwavering dedication. The financial security that had once felt so precarious now felt solid, earned through honest work and genuine effort. One afternoon, amidst a flurry of emails and floral samples, Martha paused. She looked around her sunlit office, a space that felt entirely her own, entirely right. Her gaze drifted to a framed photo on her desk, a candid shot of Sarah and Tom dancing, uninhibited joy radiating from them. A profound sense of peace settled over her. She thought of Lily, of the elaborate charade, the betrayal. The sting had faded, replaced by a quiet understanding. Lily had pursued an illusion, a superficial display of wealth and status. Martha, on the other hand, was building something real, something meaningful. The money, once a symbol of what she had lost, was now a tool for creation, a foundation for a life built on integrity and service. Her heart, once bruised and a little naive, had healed. It had grown stronger, more resilient. She found joy not in the grandiosity, but in the intimate moments, the nervous laughter of a groom, the happy tears of a mother, the shared glances of a couple deeply in love. She was no longer just Martha, the mother who had been taken advantage of. She was Martha, the creator of beautiful beginnings, the architect of flourishing futures. And in helping others find their joy, she had, unexpectedly, found her own. The future, once so uncertain, now stretched before her, bright and full of promise.